Is that Jim Roper Light?
I don't know.
That's a weird name.
I was like, are they going rancher style?
That's Roper Light.
That's a pretty strange name. Rancher Hat Bar.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I wonder what that is.
I don't know.
What is that deal, Rob? What is this?
I don't move.
You're there.
I would sit here.
Okay, great. You're good.
Just got to get your face close to this a little bit.
There we
Or
go.
just be consistent in it.
Well, what's in yours? You're not opening?
Not yet. I mean,
This is
Oh,
just
not yet.
water.
We do this later.
no, anytime you want. But
No.
well,
Oh, God, it's
I didn't
early.
bring any glassware, so we're just drinking
we're
out of
just doing
cans.
that.
Oh, we're being dirty.
Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies.
I'm Rob Fulmer, the Director of Government and Community Affairs for the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Executive Director Andrew Baum.
Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier.
Today,
dirty.
yeah. Oh, I see how it is. I'm the only one drinking this Roper drink.
More for you, bro.
Yeah.
It's fine. I don't
You're
need
like,
a
I
lot.
don't really need more than one.
One at this stage of the game is just fine.
All right. So happy Repeal Day, guys.
It is so
Absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah. And
Oh, cheers to Repeal Day.
It's not airing on Repeal Day because that would be crazy. Although we've done it before.
They're
So-
like, the can wrap says, "Please remove label and recycle this can." I love that.
So yeah, today is Repeal Day. This is the day that the states ratified the Cullen-Harrison Act, which set up the process to begin prohibition.
Oh, I thought that the 21st Amendment was passed on December 5th.
I think it had to get to. No,
The
I think
33rd state was Utah that signed it. Wasn't that nice of them?
Well, yeah,
It
that's the
was.
ratification.
Yeah.
So it was passed, but then the states had to ratify it.
And today was the day that Utah
I
signed.
believe that's correct.
Great.
They
learned
don't
something
give they don't give credit specifically to Utah. They say the states ratified on
Yeah.
this day. You may know the story about that.
I did a little bit of research for my trivia this week. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
I feel like I'm in history class here, so this is
I,
great.
I used to say how it might not be relatable, the fact that the federal government prohibited alcohol, but these days I'm not so sure.
It gets closer and closer
Because
every day.
it was a populist movement based on a minority and a lot of people that didn't understand that it was going to happen, and then it happened, and then it was a disaster, and then it was repealed. But I mean, we have an all-out assault on beer through the form of tariffs. Canadian malt, Canadian hops potentially, right? Or aluminum,
Equipment.
equipment
Yeah.
from China,
The list goes on and on.
or aluminum in any form besides cans from any place, and that's not even counting the retaliatory tariffs potentially. And if you're making beer in Mexico, you can't tell me that they're going to skirt this by shifting production in the United States. And everyone's going to say, "Oh, but then more jobs." Like, not really. It's a really
More
small,
automation.
more automation. Yeah.
And would you also like to see the price of your beer?
Right.
Because
The
they're
pints are
not going to
going
make
up.
it
Yeah,
cheaper.
the pints are going to go up.
Anytime they have an opportunity to raise prices, they're going to raise prices, and they're going to
Absolutely.
hold. And you'd be insane. I mean, if you keep your low prices, then you're going to have to make it up in volume because, can a lot of our small guys scale like that? No,
Can't do it. Yeah. No.
So I don't know. Like, there's that, and then the no safe at any limit, or there's no safe amount
No safe amount.
of alcohol, and that's based on a couple of studies and sort of pushed up to the top by 3 out of 5 commissioners, and
I have great news for you.
they're going to get in the country to run health and human services. So You can't tell me that that's not going to be.
There is the Government Efficiency Office, Department of Government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even want to entertain the pun on that and
Okay.
the self-serving
All
nature
right.
of that.
All right. Well,
Jeff Bezos
don't worry
says-
about the nutritional pyramid existing after that. They'll just be like, that's a waste of time and money. Get it out.
Oh,
I never
yeah.
worry
well,
about that when I drink a beer. You know, is it good? I'm not rating it on a nutritional scale.
Nutritional
myself,
scale,
but,
yes. Where does this fit in my food pyramid?
Jeff Bezos said that we should not
like
be
a
worried
salad.
that
You know, a lot of
that
natural.
other billionaire won't act in his self-interest, which tells you that billionaires aren't competing against themselves; they are competing to get our dollars.
I was
They're
gonna say
they're
money,
trying to
yeah.
crush us. So, like, yeah, Bezos says, "Hey, don't worry, he's gonna see the light. He's not gonna use it to his advantage." Like, come on, man. How do you not use your self-interest to become a billionaire if you're a billionaire? I don't know. Wow, that's a lot of stuff in the
That's
first.
a lot of stuff. Yes.
Hey, we got a guest today.
It's 13 years, 10 months, and hold on. 13 years, 10 months, and 19 days that prohibition was in effect.
Okay,
There you go.
19 months.
13 years,
No, 13 years, 19 months.
10 months.
10 months. I don't.
19 days.
Yeah.
They
Today's
got
the
their
ni-
beer one way or another.
Today
though,
was
didn't
it's
they?
91 years old.
It was not illegal to have beer.
Certain
It was
people got
just
their beer.
illegal to
Or alcohol. Yeah.
transport it, make it,
What about
import it.
consumption? Can you
Yeah.
consume?
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
they- legally, but how did it get there? So
Right. That's the problem.
that's
I mean,
where it
that's the
comes into
solution.
play. All right. Well,
I don't know. We don't.
they all should have had some beers, I guess.
So it was even illegal to make it in your own home. That's my weird segue to getting to our guest
Yes.
today.
Hello.
Hello.
Introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what you did before that, and what you're doing.
My name is Drew Topolky. I was the owner of Brewers Connection. We were a homebrew shop here in Tempe, Arizona. We recently had to close, unfortunately, due to the revenue of the, I guess, economies and everything else. But anyway, before that, I was a brewer at Four Peaks Brewing Company in Tempe for, like 6 years before buying Brewers Connection. And love me some Four Peaks, though, let me tell you that. The only reason I left Four Peaks was to purchase Brewers Connection because it was going to go under. And I always felt like I grew up at Brewers Connection. That's where I got all my supplies. And that's how I learned just brewing in general, with reading and applying what I learned and everything like that. So I felt like the community needed that to keep on going. And that's why I left Four Peaks. But the economy is what it is, and that's why we were one of the places that had to close down. I wish we didn't. I had a blast helping all the homebrew community, trying to teach them what to learn, what to look out for, right off the bat so you can make your beer better right off the bat, and you have a face to come to, a reliable face, so this is what happened to my beer, and then we can try and fix it, or at least have like a good diving board to come and fix it that way. So you're not digging through so many YouTube channels. And is this guy right? Is this, whomever's right, wrong, because there's a lot out there. There's a lot of bad information out there. So it was always good just to have that community guy to go to.
You can just ferment on your back porch if you want. It's fine.
Absolutely. Anyone can, I always say, anyone can
You
make
can do
alcohol.
anything.
Yeah, anyone can make alcohol. The trick is making it taste good.
Making it that you wanna
so
drink,
anyone
sure.
can make alcohol. Yeah, sure. That's the easiest thing in the world to me to do. Very little, it's like a junior high science project, but you get, alcohol at the end of it. So it's really fun. But yeah, a little bit of science goes into it. But yeah, anyone can make alcohol. It's just making it fun, making it taste good. And then also, making it consistent. That's what I was always trying to do. If a Chico strain of yeast can go a long way in a big spectrum of styles and everything like that. So you don't need, real fancy or kitschy or whatever yeast to make good beer is what I was always telling people. But homebrew is all about experimentation too. You can do what at home in 5 gallons, what the big boys, can't do. Are you
Oh,
gonna-
like I can make a saison.
Yeah, I was gonna just say the saison.
No one will buy it.
No one will buy it, but
But
they
I
will
love it.
totally make it at home.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's hard to sell that many kegs of saison, and make it worth your while for a brewery. But you could definitely do that at home. But I always say, make sure you know your yeast strain. If you're using hops, esters, and saison, you're gonna be using them esters. So get the right yeast for it, and then know what that yeast can and can't do, and apply from there.
So I want to just take a jump back for people who might not know about Brewers Connection and how long it's been in business and the legacy of all the people that worked there and what they went on to do. It was owned by Jeffrey Haynes, and I don't know the date when it started. It was in the
93,
90s, but
is
he
what
bought
I
it
was
from
told.
somebody else.
Jeff
too.
Adams is who he bought it from.
Right,
And then I bought it from Jeff Haynes.
yeah,
So-
Jeff Adams went on to work somewhere. I can't
He
remember
only
where.
came. I only met him once. He only came into the shop once. Really nice guy.
He said, "I used to own this."
Oh, totally. Back on baseline. But yeah, really nice guy. I don't know.
I think he worked for Rock Bottom.
I wanted to say that's right. Rock Bottom had a lot of good people come out of it back in the day. So
Yeah.
I know Rob Rodriguez, and Charlie Billingsley all came from Rock Bottom, and those were the guys that taught me over at Four Peaks. Just really knowledgeable,
Right.
Good people. But yeah, Rock Bottom, a lot of good people came out of Rock Bottom.
And who else among your peer group went on to either work at Four Peaks or other place? Nick worked at there.
Nick Makel, he worked over there. Bob, he's lab guy over there, the director. Let's see, who else worked over there?
Ben Vandermeer.
I was gonna say Benny worked over
Benny V.
there.
Scott Plashecki.
I don't know.
I don't know. He might have worked at
Colby
Brewery One
worked
Brew.
over there.
Colby, yeah.
What am I? I'm missing one big one. I'll think of it here in a second. Anyway, but tons of people came out.
Scott Brady.
Brady came out from Oso, and then Marley Jason Popeye.
Yeah.
And he works over at Phoenix Beer. He was over. I think he was over there. I'm not sure if he was over.
He's a
He's at Crescent Crown now.
Oh, is he? Okay. See, everyone's moving that dial move.
yeah, but
He's a craft
were
rep.
you were able to from Four Peaks step off on the onto the loading dock, and you kind of see the back
yeah.
side of at that time when Brewers Connection was there, and there was actually a little
So
staircase, a little ladder that was set up.
I was going to
between
say the
breach
pallet
wall.
ladder that we would climb up. But yeah, before I worked at Four Peaks, I did work at Brewers Connection for a year with Bob, Dougie. George was over there, or he came later. But anyway, I was working over at Brewers Connection. Bob got a job from Phoenix Ale, I think it was at the time. Then he moved over to Four Peaks as a cellarman, and then moved up to brewer real quick. And then I got to be the cellarman over there. They gave me the job after like a year at Brewers Connection. But yeah, it was just really right up that little ledge. Don't fall. You're going to slice your leg open. But just walk right in the back. And so, yeah, it was really just a back and forth.
There were concrete steps put into the rocks, and then there was like a beer bottle sort of cemented into the.
There's everything.
Yeah,
cemented
it was-
into that
yeah,
thing.
it was
They
like-
just kept concreting over that thing. The
Yeah.
hill just got, it just gradually just, I can walk on it now. But you still got to climb. Back in the day, it definitely had to climb
Yeah.
over the wall. Yeah.
But I mean, even a place, I don't think a lot of people remember when Fort Peaks was small, but it was smaller. And but even when it was larger, it would go grab some grain or hops once in a while, right?
For the casks and everything,
Yeah.
we would just shoot right over, see what they had, and because they were Firkins, so there was only 10 gallons at a time for the casks. So yeah, we wanted to mix up all the whole hops and everything and see what's up and
Wacky hops, add some fruit and those, right?
absolutely, yeah. What can we put in this plain Jane cask
Yeah.
to really spice it up and get that old school taste on it? And that's what the beauty of a homebrew shop presents to everyone. Having that access, you can get it that day, see what they have, and then make something new, make something good, and then make something that sells.
So, what year was this about when you had made the move from an employee at Brewers Connection and you started at Four Peaks?
2013, I'm
Okay.
gonna say, yeah.
So A lot of
2013.
people now point to 2013, 2014 is the apex, the height of craft beer and excitement, at least in, the possibility that growth was going to keep going.
Just keep going and going.
And then at what point did you make the decision to buy Brewers Connection? That was 17?
2018.
18.
Jeff he wasn't doing too well, and it needed some cash to go back in there, get everyone kind of up and running.
Right.
So 2018 is when he was going to just let it go, and then that's when I swooped in, ended up buying it from him. And we were doing really, really good. 2020 is 2020, but everyone was brewing really well then. And then it was 21, that's where we saw, a lot of downfall from there.
Sure. And I would just want to point the timeline out because at that time, in 2018, no one understood that maybe things were not 2015.
No, there was no reason not to keep it going.
Yeah.
Homebrew was real strong. Beer was still real strong. So mead was just, mead's always been there clearly, but people brewing it at home, they were still doing, that was kind of coming up too. And some hard seltzers, I guess, were still, coming up and about. But,
Right.
It was still beer, a lot of beer, different styles, varieties, things like that. So people wanted to expand out a little bit more than just doing, IPA.
Yeah.
We always say that, but yet I'm drinking me an IPA. By the way.
I never deny that. I never deny it. Every time.
I'll tell you guys this. I go to a new bar, or brewery. I go to a new brewery. First thing I'm going to try is their lager or, their pills, what they got, because you can't hide behind it. And so I want to see how good it is. But then the very next one I'm going to go to is their IPA because, I like IPAs. I like hops. What can I say?
Right. I got no shame in the.
Yeah.
Everyone says you've
Yeah.
been in the business for like 15 years. You're still drinking IPAs. I say, yeah, they're
keep having
delicious.
camera problems. Anyway, we lost the middle one for a while. So there was no at the risk of making seltzers seem cool, I want to try this out. I think seltzers were the hair metal bands of beer. Because there were a lot of
People like them.
flashy, but it didn't last that long.
No, not that long. But
And the roots of it are
maybe a little
into-
change.
the
People
roots-
want some change.
Hey,
and
they're
it's evolved.
still selling a shit
I was
ton
gonna
of
say,
seltzers. What are you
there's
talking
a
about?
ton out there, and they still sell.
I mean,
it's more RTD though.
It's gone down.
It's not. I'm saying the malt based seltzers.
They're still selling a ton of them.
Just one.
I
Brand.
mean, is it going? It's going down.
Yeah, like 3 or 4
sure.
brands, but that's it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But palates changed.
I know. And I
palates changed.
bet
People want
Poison's
something
playing
a little
state
different.
fair parks across the country.
Correct, sir. That's right. It's not a
No,
bad
I-
comparison.
Yeah. No.
All right, maybe I'll work on it. But so 2018, no reason not to. And coming out of the pandemic, there was a lot of talk about this is going to be a new era of people being makers like across the board. People maybe getting back to their roots. Everybody made fucking bread from scratch. Everybody.
Yeah, there was a lot of sourdough being made. you
Right.
know, so I sold a lot of yeast for your pizza doughs and starters and everything like that. A lot of bread being made, but
Right. But that just didn't stick like we thought it was.
I can't tell you why. I can only say people's pocketbooks were a lot lighter. After that 21, little hobbies may have went away, maybe a little fear. I'm not sure. I can't tell you one thing. I think it was a lot of different things, but you always say we need asses in the seats. Breweries, bars, anyone. You need asses in the seats to make that money and keep it going, man. So, and then when that doesn't happen, then you got to keep paying out of pocket, and then soon that bank account's down.
Yeah.
And
So we know that.
I don't want to be
When I was in homebrewing before I went to Perch,
and we all
I
homebrewed
bought-
too,
Yeah.
didn't we? All
Oh, yeah,
homebrewed?
we did.
We all homebrewed before.
I still homebrew.
We took. Yeah, I'm going to brew tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I got some leftover stuff. I'm brewing tomorrow.
so
Probably an IPA too, by the way.
people always said like you have to go to your local homebrew store. Don't just buy everything online because it's $2 cheaper. Make sure to get in there. I feel like the homebrew community that was community involved did that more. But I go to it when I go to a homebrew store. Every single time there's a guy that walks in and someone says, "Are you a member of Ash?" And he's like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
So they're not really involved in the community in that way. They're more like, "I'm just making beer at my house, man."
Ash is the Arizona Society of Homebrewers. I gotta,
Thanks.
It's,
Yeah.
it's a good 50-50 I saw, but I had a lot of, I call y'all ash holes, but love you guys. But yeah, it was a good 50-50. We did have a lot of medal winning ash holes that shopped at Brewers Connections, but we also had a lot of people that just wanted to brew it at home. They saw something online on Insta or Facebook or wherever they're going now, and I want to do that. And I think when, back in the day, I started home brewing in 2008. So I've been brewing for a while. But back then, we had a group of guys that would be brewing their own thing
At your house, in the driveway.
a
There's
driveway.
5
but
dudes brewing, 15
and
people
they're
there.
5 dudes brewing 5 different brews.
Right.
So and then it just kind of, it's kind of died down. And maybe, in the mid-teens to upper teens, I don't know, maybe it all condensed into one brew for 5 guys. I don't know why it went down like that, but we did that. We made it a competition.
Maybe 25% of the people actually got into the beer industry and started brewing professionally.
I
or
think,
opened a brewery.
because, it was a rite of passage. You work at the homebrew shop, and then I really like this, and then you just take the next step and you work at a brewery. You start as a cellarman. Back in the day, you started as a cellarman, and then you worked your way up if you're good at cellarman. So, you're cleaning all your lines, you're making those casts and everything like that. And what I always did, though, was ask the brewer, a Melissa or a Rob or anyone that was brewing, I got some time. Can I clean up your, you learn that way. You go and you ask, what can I do, instead of, bro, I ain't got no time. Can you, it's like, well, okay. We everyone cleaned, everyone just jumped in and, took, there was a lot of chefs, and that was okay. That was perfectly fine back then. Now there's only one chef, and it's like, you want me to clean this? You want me to clean that? And I don't know. It's like, we all had that, we're going to go get them attitude, and we're going to kick some ass and make some good beer, and we're going to have 20 gallons.
I want to go back
Just
to
got
that.
tired.
I want to go back to that 10-year stretch from 2008 to 2018 because that's kind of when I started too, and there was the connectivity of the internet and forums that weren't dial-up bulletin board forums, but like actually you could show pictures and share information. I think that's there was a lot of acceleration there, and the technology has been incredible. Just not just electric computer driven stuff, but like just
you can have that at home too now.
Just the wide variety of equipment and the changes to vessel sizes and geometry of the fermentation. Like there's a lot of
with stainless steel.
Oh yeah, conicals and
right, but and just process. Like there was a lot of sharing of like even though some ideas competed with each other, and it wasn't always about efficiency. It was some of it was just to look cool and all that other stuff. But there was a lot of growth there. So I can understand why it's like, wow, this is going to keep going. And this, to me, given the pandemic, it might even had the ability to punch through whatever is affecting both regular beer, craft beer, home brewing, and maybe the general economy. That was the thinking. I just wanted to, when I was involved with Ash, I got a lot of heat because there were people who wanted to organize group grain buys, and I always resisted it. And I said, you guys can do whatever you want, but we're not publishing it and we're not supporting it, because I said, this is all great until you want to brew 6 months out of the year, and you either got to buy a bunch of yeast so you have enough thermal mass to have it actually not die on your doorstep. I'm like, so you need to, I said, why don't you just work with your local homebrewers? And I didn't pick one or the other, because at one point there were 3, maybe 4. If you
3, well, there was Black Canyon, wasn't that one?
Yeah, I mean,
what ales? Yeah, Brew Your Own Brew, and then Brewers Connection. We were the big, 3, and Brew Your Own still there. What Ails You is still there, but I can't tell you why it's
But from your perspective, were they simultaneous? Like, or obviously as a smaller business, You felt the pain a little earlier than most, even though that they may also feel the same pain.
Well, I tried to keep prices as consistent as possible, but
Right.
it just comes to a point where you can't, because you're taking the loss. Plus, some people that were brewing maybe like 8 times a year were only brewing 4 times a year.
Right.
Is really what it turned out to be. That post, kind of once the COVID cash stopped, in 21, that's
Right.
where it kind of, took a little downturn. But then people would back off the brewing, or they had other things to do. Kids are expensive too, by the way. And then when inflation hits, they're paying more, and that hobby again just kind of, goes away. But then, that dinner goes away too. So you're not going to the bar, or,
Right.
even that, after work beer that you have with your buds, may go away. That, because that $10 has to, or the $20 even has to stretch a little bit further too.
Yeah, the children thing, actually, I understand, even though I don't have children. I understand, because we used to be online and, like, track everyone, and someone would say, oh, yeah, we have a kid, and we congratulations. And, like, a lot of us are like, well, we'll see you in 10 years.
Bye.
Yeah. See you later.
We'll see you in 10 years, because there was a constant
4 or
churn.
5, 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
we'll see you back in the community.
Yeah.
But
That's it's definitely
once,
a thing.
Once,
And-
twice. But yeah.
And most of the consumers, I would assume, were of a certain age, and there were a lot of them. And if their life changes, then that affects your
Yeah.
bottom line, your business quite a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Still new people coming into the hobby.
Yes, there were, but not nearly as much.
Not enough to-
not enough to, if
Offset.
someone had a kid, then another guy's gonna pop up. We never had that. I didn't have that growth at my, I can only talk about Brewers Connection.
Right.
And I never had that. If someone dropped, I'm looking, I post stuff over at ASU and get those in. That's why I was talking about mead. A lot of people, it's easy, but again, you just need some champagne yeast and a little bit of honey. And so, you're only doing a gallon at a time. So it's like, again, talking about the kids, we'll see you in a few years. Well, I'll see you in 6 months. All right.
Yeah.
And then when you want to get your next yeast, but that equipment, which is great that you bought it from me, I love it. But again, it's like a one-time buy, and then you're just going to go and hopefully keep it going though. Cause that's the trick with homebrew. We all know you got to keep doing it. And then, your cost gets lower and lower and lower.
And your beer
and then
gets
your
better
beer
and
gets
better
better
and
and better.
better.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the whole thing. But if you only do it, once a quarter or twice a year or something like that, it's hard to get that experience really, know what your yeast can and can't do. And then, we all are even thinking, what did I do yesterday? Right. Try and think, what did I do 6 months ago? Like, how did I do this? What was the temperature? So we're always writing notes and everything like that to try and do that. But experience, as we all know, and doing it over and over and over again, like, now it's like riding a bike. And then you get smart and you're using a Chico yeast or your one favorite yeast and either propping it
Dry
up.
yeast.
Dry yeast is always great. But
Yeah, there was a whole like anti-dry yeast thing in the homebrew movement, but like, oh, well, there's a lot of breweries that are using it.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
all I
Use
ever
those
did
Brits,
when I was
man.
home
Yeah.
was use dry yeast, and everyone's like, "Oh, you gotta get this if you really want to have good stuff." And I'm like, "But you just had it, right?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, it was really good, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." I go, "But it was dry yeast," and they're like, "Still,
yeah, exactly.
you can't do that." But I just did.
Andrew, you used to teach a lot of homebrew classes. I taught a few, and I think for me to get people and not to get too into the details, I told them, like, the first day we met, obviously you can't do a lot of practical stuff that first day, like that is going to resonate. But I sent in an email. I said, I want you to buy one of these kinds of apple juices, and I want you to put in this much, drain off a little bit, put this much sugar in, just like leave the cap off. And I would know the gravity from those brands, and I'd say bring it in like at this date, this time. I don't remember if it was a week or whatever. Took gravity readings. I'm like, alcohol's in there. You already did it.
Yep.
You already brewed. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, like it might have been a little,
so
might have been a
easy.
lot.
Yeah.
But it was like it might taste bad. Like now,
Well, that's where temperature comes
Yeah,
in,
right.
know, and that's why you go to the local guys so that they can tell you, like, on the poster, it's like in a way, it's information overload because what do I look at on these stats? You know, like what am I supposed to be looking at from this poster, you know, on Y yeast or fermentus or something like that? These are the 4 things, you know, like temperature, look at your attenuation. You know, can I achieve that temperature too? You know, we live in Arizona. So you ain't got no fridge in the summer. What's your AC running at?
Right.
And then inside, you know, you got your little yeast guys moving around, eating away, right?
Yeah.
That's going to
Already
throw
heating up.
that heat's
So-
jacking up.
The yeast that everyone is using and that's in vogue is not as temperature sensitive. It's
Well, there's Kveik, which
Yeah.
you get.
but that came
that
too
way
late
up
in the
there.
game, I think, for a lot of these.
To keep it going, well, yeah, I mean, it's been around for a while. I guess the notoriety of it too. People maybe stuck in their ways a little bit, you know, I'm sticking with this yeast no matter what.
Well,
you know,
also they've
and-
already, if they're a home brewer that's already invested in the equipment for temperature control.
Well, then you
I
can
already
play
know
with-
how this
you know,
yeast
yeah,
works. I don't
you
wanna
know,
fuck
I
around
don't
with
wanna-
another one.
Yeah, I don't want to screw around with it, which is good. You know, but you know, you have to the homebrew world. You know, you have that. You know, you have to try and balance it out. Which is you got your experimenters over here, you got your experienced brewers over here. Well, yeah, exactly. You know, and then you got everyone in the middle, and you know, so that's the homebrew community, I guess. You know, as the shop owner, you have to try and balance it. But, you know, sometimes you don't have that latest and greatest yeast that, you know, you just read from
Right.
BYO magazine or wherever you're getting your info from. And it's like, well, just so you know, those guys got that yeast for free. They got that grain for free too, by the way.
Right.
So, and he just got it. So it's like an experimental batch. It's like,
Right.
you got to give me 6 months to get it. Or, you know, because all the breweries going to get it first. And then it's going to trickle down to your
Do you have
homebrew shop.
HBC 2893?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, okay, which one's that one again? Let me go up to the chart. Okay, experimental. No, November 25. You know,
Well,
that's when you're gonna get it.
That's
you know,
the other thing that exploded is the variety of ingredients and yeast and hops.
And that's called capital outlay for him.
oh yeah. I mean, it's so many, and they just tweak it a little bit, and I think that's what pisses me off so much. Like, bro, the esters are the same. Like everything is really the same. So what's the difference?
marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another thing for
exactly.
people to buy.
I need Carafa 3.5. And it's like, all right, Carafa 1 is 200L. So if we go up to a 400 Lovabond,
Yeah.
are we still
We're talking about-
black?
we're talking
or
about
are
color.
We're talking about shades of black at this
Yeah,
stage of the time.
yeah.
Right.
But the flavor's the same. It's going to do the same thing in your mash. So it's like, all right, like he said, marketing. But yeah, you got to know the difference. But a little bit of sleuthing, going. Charlie Papazian, A Complete Joy of Homebrewing is where I started.
That's
And
where I
then,
started.
You move up, designing great beers. You move up to the Ray Davises of the world, to the John Palmers of the world. Still look at Papazian stuff all the time, seeing what he's up to. But you have to have that trust. Those are trustworthy guys. I think we're trustworthy guys too. If you guys are wondering, we have a lot of experience at this table, but. And I don't want to dog anyone, for trying on YouTube, but just be careful of what you watch on YouTube. Do you see a final product? I never see a final product. So I'm just going on what you're saying is what you're telling me. So just do this and it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It's like, well, what was the final? I want to see it. What did you do? Give me some specs. And I'm like, one guy came in and he's like, man, I got this awesome green apple flavor out of my pale ale. And I'm like, oh, what was the yeast that you use? I'm not going to give him any little, what'd you use? Chico. And I'm like, not supposed to have any green apple in there, big guy. Like after going through specs, like temperature was a little off. So, but
Hey, if you like it,
hey,
try and replicate it.
as long as you know what you're doing is what I said. As long as you know what you're doing, do anything you want to do. But, you have to know this is going to be the outcome. This, DMS is going to come out of this if you do it this way. Now, you like that little, diacetyl is going to come out of it. You like that, butter flavor, go for it. At least as long as you know how to do it again, I'm all for it.
Red Hook
You know?
ESB in the 90s, baby.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
There's a whole school of thought that a lot of people who started as homebrewers have a actual affinity, liking for oxidized beer.
oh yeah, yeah.
And that's why, and it fits in certain styles, and especially anything that you consider like, oh, I should age it. Usually higher gravity, dark roast, right? And it's just a testament that if you keep drinking your own stuff and you get a house character,
Yeah.
and you get used to it, and it's like, what is the thing? Beware of a skinny brewer, but also beware of a brewer that only drinks his own stuff, because
right.
they're not gonna understand over time. Their palate's gonna gravitate to what they
To
like.
what they do, and that's it. You know, that's going to be their, you know, the flavor, and that's exactly what you just said. That's all they'll know. You have to try different things, see what other people like, and that's the way that you can start pinpointing right off the bat. If you can start tasting those flavors,
Right.
Oh, screwed up at the temperature. Oh, you know, maybe my mash was too low. You know, why is my gravity so low? Oh, maybe my mash temp, you know, my hot liquor needs to be up or something like that. You know,
I always
you need to know those things.
I kind of
to
like
go,
when someone starts ticking off beers they've had as a thing. I just go, well, you must have you must really like well agitated beers with no temperature control and no understanding of how it got here. Okay, great.
I don't mind my beers being hazy. I'm like, you know what it takes to make a beer real clear? Like, you know how much effort and time that brewer goes into making sure you can see through that beer. And some people just say, oh, I don't care. I'm like, all right. You know, all right. And that's fine. You know, that's what I do love about beer, though, is that all the different styles and everyone has their own palate, though. That's why going from, you know, getting that homebrew shop, and me and my wife were like, you know, we can do a lot of different things and experiment and share the knowledge for the saisons. Or I'm not a big sour guy, but if you guys like it, great. You know, I'm not going to drink it, but if you want to drink it, I can try and show you how to make it. And then, hey, go for it. You know,
I like to make the analogy that beer is like pizza.
Yeah.
It can be great the next day laying out on the counter.
Yeah.
It could be a frozen pizza. It could be a pizza that you burnt, but you're home after going out to the bar and you're going to eat it anyway.
yeah, you're gonna eat it anyway, aren't you?
You just got done moving and there's like a bunch of pizza and you're exhausted and
Best pizza ever.
totally.
That was the best pizza
Absolutely.
ever. It was Little Caesars, bro. I know. It's
I know.
so
It's
good.
yeah. You know, I just took some jalapenos out of my refrigerator and I accidentally splashed a bunch of jalapeno juice over. I'm like, oh, great, perfect.
Awesome.
I do no boil beers.
No boil beers. How's the efficiency on that?
I don't care. I'm making 3 gallons. I really do not care at all.
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever
It's
floats
a
your
thing,
boat,
yeah,
man.
you
It
know.
takes me 45 minutes and I brew it on a
let's
Coleman
look it up,
stove.
you
in
know,
the
let's
back
look on Google
porch.
and see what a couple people did. And
I've
you
only
know,
had a
how can we
handful
make
of
it-
your homebrews because he's taken ingredients to the Bahamas
Okay.
and made beer in a ridiculous amount of time.
I used a 5-gallon like plastic water, folding plastic water jug like you use for camping. That was my fermenter. And then
Do we have any, like, at least sanitizer? You cleaned and sanied, or are we just
Yeah.
unfolding?
No, I
Are we
took it
just
out of the
rinsing
bag.
Okay.
took it out of the bag. And I'm sure it was still
filling that thing
sanitized.
Yeah. He wanted those plastic phenols to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I used Kvike and it was ready.
Well, it's a good
He had to
strain.
bring his own malt.
Kvike's
his
a
own,
really good strain, though. I mean, it's
Yeah.
aggressive. It's going to munch you down. So it'll eat
Overnight it
anything.
was done.
Yeah. It'll eat anything.
done. And then all I had to do was put that jug, close it, and put it into the fridge. It's pressure-ish.
Ish.
It was pressure
That's
enough
gonna
to be done
some
in like 2
Low
days.
volume of CO2 right there.
I mean, but he was going on vacation. He didn't want to buy any beer from there.
Well, no, they
yeah,
only
yeah.
had shit beer.
Was it good? Was it good? Or was
It was great.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, I did use
I'm sure it was.
I did use
I'm
hop
sure.
extract
Oh,
drops.
Okay. Well,
'Cause I
cover up
know.
and mask any.
Well, I
off-flavor
wanted
you
an
got right
IPA,
there.
and all they sell there is lager. On this island, you can only get island fucking lager or island lager light.
I mean, that's okay.
I
When
drank
in
a lot
Rome,
of it.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
come
and then you
on.
can get Guinness.
Well, that's a little thick, for. It's not thick at all, but where you're at in the islands, I don't know.
If you want to drink a beer
refreshing
with
Guinness
flavor,
would.
yes,
I
absolutely.
salute
is
his
awesome.
ingenuity. That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
That
But
would not-
Quebec's a really good yeast strain.
It would have
too.
been not very possible years ago.
I tried it years ago and I was not successful.
Yeah.
Without that Kvike, I was.
So
it
Drew,
was not
I wanted
good.
to ask you, like, we're used to here at the Guild creating networks and of information, and obviously we talked about homebrew and online forums and peer groups and homebrew clubs, and even though we as a guild we're one operation in one state and there's 50 of us, we actually do network. Was there a homebrew store network across the country, or was there an opportunity for you to talk to your peers in Connecticut or New Mexico? Or
If there was, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
How's that? If, I use you guys a lot as reference and a resource. But yeah, no, not that I know of. For the homebrewers, there's American Homebrewer Association.
no, I meant for people
Owners.
who own homebrew stores, like where you're like, hey man, I'm seeing this. What are you guys seeing out there?
Adam from What Ails Ya.
Yeah.
We texted a few times and just seeing. We were gonna start something like that right before or after, I think 2020 or 21, and then
Priorities went a little whack.
Yeah. That's why I got busy, just trying to stay afloat and getting everyone together to just simple stuff, your BSGs, your internet, electric. It takes time. And then if someone screws up, which, how many times has your bill been screwed up? You got to call them, you got to wait, you got to, go through the chain and where's the problem? And then you got customers coming in. So, it takes time. He had the same thing. Now, you're trying to do your books, you're trying to do everything, and then it's like, all right, I'm going home, I'm gonna have a beer, and then I'm gonna try and figure out what I'm gonna do tomorrow, because hopefully I can hear back from your X, Y, and Z's and get some stuff done, and then reorder.
Yeah.
Or that's the thing. Like, so I
Where's
order,
my stuff? Where is it? Where's it? Oh, it shows that
a
it
lot
shipped.
of people have that issue. Either shipping gets damaged, things never get shipped, even though they say it's shipped. and
Shipping
then
prices go from
So you
112
do-
a
yeah,
pallet
you
to
know.
320.
shipping costs. Yeah, I can get this. Ain't Amazon here, folks. This is these pallets cost money. Shipping it here, trucking companies all cost money. I wish we had a nice brewer supply group or something here in the valley. That would be nice, but we don't. And so it's coming from Cali, or it's coming from Texas, or hell, I've even
Colorado.
gone. I've gone all the way out to Carl LD in Ohio just because they had some stuff. But
LD Carlson.
LD Carlson, all the way out in Ohio, Ken, Ohio. And if they got my stuff, send it in, because, Country Malt, which is, I forget who.
RAR? Oh, no,
More
that's
beer.
BSG.
Isn't that more beer? I forget. Anyway, it was Country Malt, whoever took over Country Malt. But BSG, it was like, who has what? And now instead of just BSG or the other two, now I have to add in a third or a fourth place to order from just to get my normal stuff in. And they're going to inflate the cost and shipping and
Pro Brew Supply.
what?
Pro Brew Supply. They're awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Out of Texas.
Yeah, out of Texas. Yeah, yep. Yes, sir.
So these are all co-ops and distribution
these are just
companies
distribution companies,
Right.
yeah, where you buy all your stuff from,
and some of them are focused on
some
on
things
pro
or
brewer,
other, or
and some of them are more focused on home brewing. But there's a lot of crossover.
tons of crossover.
But as an operator, you're depending on a certain volume to guarantee prices, and if you start to lose customers, and it's going to get more expensive. And then obviously with all the chaos that even affects our brewers, like I can't tell you how many times somebody's operation, their brewing schedule is screwed up because shipping and the post pandemic
We need
shipping.
those hops to come in, to keep the beer moving. So,
Right.
Whatever beer, your Faithfuls, your Hop Knots, whatever, you need those hops to come in. And, when we brewed, if we didn't have it, well, okay, we already had it organized on the board, but what do we have in stock? And then we can kind of brew there and then maybe shuffle But yeah, I mean, you get on time, you know, your ship's on time. Well, it's supposed to be here at 9 a.m., you know, it's 4. And where is it? Well, it's on time. You know? So, yeah, you know, you have to deal with that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what you deal with. It's
Right.
what you have to deal with.
I got
you
shipped
know?
the wrong yeast. I
Yeah.
got shipped some fucking Belgian yeast from
Right.
one of my first brews at the Perch.
I got BE 256, but you know, I wanted
Chico.
1118 or SO5,
Yeah.
where it's like, who did this?
So I
You
had
know,
to go
you check
to.
it in, and
Yeah.
it says SO5. So why is it BE
Yeah.
256 that I'm getting? And it's like, who did this? Oh, let me send it to you right away. And it's like, I wanted it today so I could
Yeah.
brew today and keep myself on schedule. You know,
I went
But-
to BJ's and Doc gave me 3 gallons of yeast to use. And
Violet, I mean,
was fine.
If we all don't know this, brewery's just a domino. So as we're trying to explain here, it's a domino. If we don't get the shipment in, we can't brew it. If we can't brew it, we can't sell it. You know, so we can't package it, we can't keg it. Salesman, he can't sell it. You know, bar
Anywhere
can't
in that line,
pour
it can
it.
get jacked
And
up too. Because you can get the
anywhere in
ingredients.
there,
I don't have
right.
any lids. Now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. We've had that. Yeah. You get
And
your
it's-
can.
I ran out of CO2.
You get your can, but this is separate. The lid is separate. So I can fill it, but how am I gonna screw it on there? Mm-hmm. And you would think it's all one. No.
Oh, also,
no.
and
Oh,
your
no.
neighbor may have a different lid. It looks exactly the same,
Yeah.
but it will not work on your machine no matter what.
And do you have a machine to can? You know, I mean, that's the other thing.
And
So-
fortunately, we're not one of the states that has the required information on it for recycling programs.
we got to take
Like if you're in Connecticut and you have to have that on the top, and you get these lids, what I'm sure you just throw it out there. But I mean, like, yeah, I mean,
They don't really sell the lids without the engraving.
I mean, how many people do remove this? Does anyone?
I do all the time.
Okay.
I have
you
another
are required to remove this
I
now.
think I start that way. And
In this
then
house,
it'll
you
be a few
remove that.
beers in, then it won't be removed.
in this
No, I
house,
always do
in
it.
this house, you remove that. We're gonna watch
Absolutely.
you.
I
Do it
have
on
a s-
camera.
I have
I got my
my
Leatherman. I'm ready to go, man. Let's
I have
go.
my trash bag. I have my recycle, and then next to that is another bag for film. So, grocery bags, Amazon pouches, and beer labels. I'll go in that bag. Took it to Walmart today.
Nice.
Boom, right in there. I'm sure mine is totally wrong because they're all different plastics, and I'm just shoving them all together. They're like, this fucking guy's back. Great.
I think it would do pretty well with the fries bags, putting those back in. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So, as you explained, you've sold the business.
We did not sell.
Oh.
We had to go under. So no one. We offered it to a few people, but yeah, even the lot. One person, won't say who, was gonna buy the lot, backed out of the lot. Won't say who, but
So you own the building?
no.
What do you mean the lot? Sorry.
Our inventory.
Okay.
Our inventory. Sorry.
Gotcha.
No. Oh man, if I owned the building, we would still be there. I'm sure, but like everyone else, they wanted too much money. So you know when the lease is
that
up,
was the thing
yeah,
that
you
sort
know,
of pushed.
the lease was up. So yes, we really crawled, I guess, to the finish line as best as we could. But yeah, I mean, we negotiated a little bit, but if you ever get a commercial lease, as you guys know, you got that cam and you are just a hostage, basically. Yeah, and you signed the lease, and so
Were they asking for a 5 or a 10-year commitment or what?
it was always threes.
Threes,
But yeah,
okay.
3 or a 5. But yeah, I re-signed in 21 too, thinking that it's gonna come back. Why
Right.
wouldn't it? It's always come back, and why wouldn't it? And that was the thing. Like it just kept going down.
Do you still think it's going to come back at some point?
It's a
homebrewing.
loaded question. I
Homebrewing in general,
I
yeah.
think it will. It may need a little bit of a lull time, though.
Yeah.
Is what I've been kind of telling people. I think, and just my opinion, I think it needs a little bit of a lull so that when someone does do it again, and I don't know how many years, maybe a year, maybe 5 years, someone will like see their dad or their uncle or a cousin or something like that. I've been doing this for years, and then kind of catch on to it. But I don't. I hope it comes back. I want people to keep brewing in their backyard, and I want people to keep learning about beer, and because it's very complex, but at the same time, it's steady when you know what you're doing. The consistency will be there if you take a little bit of time and know what your hops and your yeast and your malts can and can't do, and then do a little research on your own. I mean, that's what we all did. What's attenuation mean? What's an IBU? Things like just simple little things, and then flavors and things. So I hope that the homebrew clubs will keep promoting this, and I hope younger kids will come back too. But some people don't. I know a lot of people that don't even drink anymore, or so. Where it's gonna go, it's very, I don't know.
Do you think homebrew's success was kind of also its downfall? Like,
I think it got saturated. If that's
so
where
many
you're going. There's
homebrewers,
so many
homebrewers
options.
had success, and they started homebrewing because they couldn't get the beer they wanted, right? Like me brewing saisons because I can't get them. So now that there are so many breweries and so many beer companies around the country distribute to Arizona, you can get so many styles anywhere all the time except saison, that people went, you know what, it's just easier to buy it than it is to make it. And so I was homebrewing, but now I can get the things I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And homebrewers that went on to become professional brewers and get involved in the industry because they found that passion in homebrewing and went, I'm going to make this my job. But now they don't homebrew anymore.
Absolutely. I mean,
all those things,
yes
sure.
to all
those things, sure.
of those things. Maybe saturated is the bad word, but we have a lot of breweries across the country, not just in Arizona. And we are very fortunate to live in the valley, Big Valley. How many people in here? So we have a lot of people coming in, but we also have a lot of breweries trying to go out too. But that's where, in my opinion, the consistency comes from, and having the faithfuls, because when you brew that over and over, when you get it, you know what you're gonna get. All right. So same thing with, your Santans, your Four Peaks, Husses. When I drink a Scottsdale Blonde, I know what I'm gonna get. Things like that, I think would help a little bit more. But then also, we all know from post-production, so when it's in this can, nice and cold and fresh, it's going on a truck. And now where that truck goes...
Circle K in Lake Havasu, where it's sitting in the window.
Exactly.
In a stack.
You have to... Yeah, I love my gas station right on the corner, and they sell multiple beers, and I will not buy from them because... I know it sits in that back until they get to put it in the cooler. But who are we going to blame? Yeah. That's if you don't know that, if you don't want to think like that, you're going to just blame fate. You're going to blame Four Peaks. You're going to blame Santa. You're going to blame the brewery instead of the real cause. So
I'm going to blame a chain of liquor store that has south-facing windows on a lot of their locations, and they put product in the window.
Stop it.
The sun hits it every hour the sun's up.
Yeah.
And heats it up a little bit.
And then it gets oxidized, and then you're going to have a bad opinion of that beer and the brewery. And instead of the real fault will be the liquor store. Yeah. So, don't be so, I always say don't be so quick to judge. Just know where you're getting it from too, I like the grocery, so I get it from the grocery. It's nice and cold. I go in the cooler. I don't get warm beer.
Man, the grocery.
But I do like me some Tops liquor store too.
The problem is variety at the grocery store.
Well, that's true.
Okay, you have...
It's convenience.
It's going to be cold.
It's
going to be on the corner. It's going to be, handled well, but you have like 20 choices.
Yeah.
And 15 years ago, that would have been 5. So, yay.
Growth.
But also, they're all the same.
Well,
you have a lager or you have an IPA. Which of these craft beers would you like to have?
Well, then, then you go to your local liquor
Bottle
store.
Shop.
Yeah, you go to Bottle Shop 48, go to Tops Liquor. I love Tops Liquor Store. But yeah, you can go to your Total Wines. You can go to your Bevmos. You know, if you want more variety.
Hair
but,
of the Dog in Gilbert.
I mean,
They
there you
have
go,
a
yeah.
cold case.
Give them plugs.
Yeah.
Go. But, if you do get, I guess my point is if you do get a bad beer from that place, not the brewery or not, you get it at the Circle K or whatever, then, don't be so quick to judge where was it the liquor store? Was it the brewery? Was it
Distributor.
faulty cans? Distributor.
Did it sit on the back?
Did it sit on the pallet?
loading
Yeah,
dock
just
for
waiting for
2
the
days?
trucker to come in,
Yeah.
and no one moved it.
I
back.
remember going into the cooler because they said, "Hey, you know beer, like you can try this and see what the problem might be."
Oh, yeah.
I walk back in there and it's a
oxi-
keg.
It's oxidized.
It's a keg, and it literally has in marker, "Do not send to a retailer." Return to brewery, and
Who
it like
looks at
had
those things?
it was
No
like
one looks at
it was
that.
like I don't know 2 years out of code. And it was like, there's your problem right
There
there.
it is.
It's a good thing you showed up.
Yep. Just
I
These are
have,
my big brains.
I have reading skills, and like I wrote it
It's
right
like,
on the.
wait, let me just. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I remember another supplier that called me up and like, hey man, I don't know if you can do anything about this, but there's 2 pallets of your beer that have just been sitting on the back dock for like 3 days. No, I can't do anything about that now, can I?
And what are you gonna do, man? You gonna sell that? Or?
Am I gonna buy it
Are
back?
you gonna buy it?
No,
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot
So
afford
whose
that.
fault are we at here? You
Yeah.
know, that's where it comes down to. Whose fault is that?
I,
then the beer's sold. So
The beer's sold.
The beer's sold. So
I want to get back to.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I want
No.
to get back to like homebrewing, and I think it's good. I think everything comes back eventually. It's just a question of how long and where.
How long?
And but I predict someone will approach you and say, "Hey, I got this great idea about making beer at home," or "I heard you did this before. I want to get into it."
His
I
name
wanna-
might
I
be
wanna-
Rob.
No, it will not be Rob.
Damn it.
Well, he knows where to go.
I mean, bro.
Anyway, anywhere you're at, I always say
People are going to say, "Hey, I know you did this before. Like,
Yeah.
I want to do this." Like, they're going to ask you, and maybe they already have. I don't know.
people have asked me. I mean, go to, your local homebrew shop. Just type in homebrew wherever you're at. It's gonna pop up. We have What Ails Ya, and we have Brew Your Own Brew. That's what's left. But the northernbrewer.coms of the world, they have anything and everything. I don't want to give them a plug, but if you are looking for something brand spanking new or uber specific,
Right.
that's probably where you're going to go, because the homebrew shop is not going to have that on hand. We just can't. We have to have that,
Especially when it comes
SO5s.
to
You're right.
equipment and-
right.
yeah.
Because there's so much equipment too. Do you want electric? Do you want open flame? Do you want it jacketed? Do you, are you going to buy a fridge and then stick it in the fridge with a, Johnson box, temperature control box? Like, so all of these things though, you have to know before you even start, in my opinion. But if you just want to go on the whim, that's okay too. Take notes and then do it the next time.
Yeah.
If you do it the next time too, that's the big thing. So you want to do it again. And it's not like baking a cake either, is it? There is a little bit of art to it, isn't there? Craft is in there. Knowledge comes into play. Even of the grain, if I go up to, 155 Fahrenheit on my mash, what kind of flavors am I going to get out of there? Better back it down to 152. That may not sound like a big difference, but it is a big difference, if you're doing your mash, those things matter, don't they? Don't they, Andrew?
A lot,
Don't
yeah.
they? So 3 degrees matters. Where you
for sure.
ferment matters. Giving it a diacetyl rest while it's fermenting matters. Don't just keep it at, well, it says 70, so I just keep it at, give it the diacetyl bump if you can. Well, I don't have a fridge. It's like, well, kind of the bar is set where the bar is set until you get that next step and get the fridge and then address it from there.
Have you heard of Pinter?
Yeah. anything. Yeah, I don't recommend anything that's 1 gallon. Just make it worth your while. Do the 5 gallon batch. And
Oh, see, I was gonna
just be done with it.
I was
5
gonna-
gallons. It's not even worth your time, and it's not
I
real
do
brewing.
1 gallon batches
I don't
'cause
believe
I
it's
love
real
it.
brewing.
All right, so I was
I
gonna
do
push.
1 gallon
like-
batches.
I was going to
'cause
push
love it.
back. I was going to push back on this because I think that is the problem is the volume and temperature control. Like it is much easier to control a smaller volume to get temperatures. I think that was the big issue.
Most
is-
accurate. I mean, yeah, less volume.
yeah.
So it'll take
to
it'll
bring
be
to bring
easier
them
to
down
achieve.
quickly.
Sure.
5 gallons was a lot for a lot of people who didn't want to take the extra investment and steps, and maybe that's the cost to get into it. But like I think that was a steep cost, and then we overestimated. At that time you were drinking all of it because you didn't have a lot of options, but now you have options, so maybe you don't need as much volume. Like maybe you can. I don't know.
I make 3 gallon batches.
I
actually
I
make
come from
I make 1.5
Four
gallon
Peaks,
batches.
and we did 40
and then
barrel batches. All right.
Yeah.
That's 80 kegs. That's 1,200 plus gallons.
Right.
And then making 5 gallons. Remember, 5 gallons is only 2 cases. I mean, 2 cases, 6-pack. But you're going to get just a little less than 48 beers, And if we're kegging it, hopefully you get a little bit more. But, if it's the wife and I, maybe this is bad, but, we can suck down that 5 gallons, no problem. Especially if we have a neighbor over or a friend over.
Or a brew day with all your buddies there. It's
That
gone
5
like
gallons
that.
is not going to last. Like, in fact, you're like, shit, I should have done another
Well,
one.
the only reason I bring this up because there was a weird intersection between the tech bro kind of culture of like having these things, and that even got to where ABI was investing in a Keurig type operation where you just hit X, Y, and Z, and you're getting this beer instantaneously. The volumes definitely went down, but a lot of them were proprietary, and like the software was proprietary, or the ingredient packets
in a
were
pouch of some magic
difficult.
sort.
But I honestly I think
Yeah,
I
the
think-
prepackaged stuff, I don't like that.
I
just
think
don't.
as more people have more craft options, maybe the lower volumes would have helped. Like not that that's anyone's fault or anything, but I think that's the way it was going. Unfortunately, it was in the startup phase of all these companies, and like when they were done, and like there's not as many options for these things. Like you use some equipment that isn't locked into proprietary stuff, but don't you use a Grainfather or something like that, or
No.
okay.
I use a Coleman stove with a pot
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah.
on the back porch. It's
I
fine.
have an Igloo mash tun.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10-gallon Igloo cooler is my mash tun. But yeah, I mean, I popped out the little, white little, whatever that, pour spigot. And I replaced it with a, 1/2-inch bulk. And I put in a ball valve in there. And some quick disconnects. So, because I only use 3 silicone hoses when I brew. At the end, it does get a little spider web-ish, but you just one chugger pump, and it gets moving just fine and dandy. Efficiency is always good.
Chugger Pump is a brand name.
It's a brand name, but any, I think it's not even a horsepower. It's like one.
Oh,
or
no,
half,
it's like a quarter.
Half.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so little, but
you can get a quarter or a half.
But a little trick though is I put a ball valve on the out of it, and then that way I can control how fast it's going, because we all know, unless you want to invest in the variable speed pump, it's got one and it's go. So this way we can control our runoff into our kettle and everything like this. But also, you don't need the third thing to cool it down. I just take my mash tun, my Igloo, and then I just bring that over, a couple bags of ice, hose water, and then the wort chiller, and that cools it down in about 17
What about just
minutes.
dumping ice in?
So
Well, if you're doing extract, just dump it in there. That's what I always just dump it. If you're doing extract,
all
brew.
grain,
all grain. I mean,
why does it matter?
well, volume, because you're going to start diluting down, your final product.
But
if
you can
start
make a
adding-
high gravity all
You
grain.
can totally make a high gravity all grain as long as you plan out. There's probably ways to do that.
See,
I haven't
that's what
done
I
it
do.
that way. I haven't done it that way.
I do dump DME in. I do. I do
I was
it all
gonna
grain,
say,
and then I add supplement with
check your
DME.
gravity, and then a little DME sounds
Yeah.
good. Mix it in, and then
So I just was remembering, like, so there's macro, micro, and then nano.
sure,
Right.
yeah, okay.
Somewhere in the Greek of all that is a volume called Zepto, and it doesn't translate directly. But I did have this idea that when I was working in a cubicle in the software industry, that I was going to make a single bottle of beer at work during the day. And
Gotta keep
in that
yourself
case,
entertained, you know?
in that case, the low volume was hard to keep temperature control of.
Yeah,
Right.
It was super hard to it's already too hot.
I was in
Gonna get some
catering.
raw flavors off.
I was in catering, so I could make beer at work all the time. And the owner of the catering company was like, "This is so amazing.
Yeah.
This is so cool." I'm like,
When I was working in the offices, that's exactly what happened. Like, I would be working there, and then the boss's office is just catty corner a little bit, and you work with your immediate team and the boss, and then the owner comes in, it's like, and you're like, oh, but then he goes in, shuts the door, and it's like, okay, so my beer is shit, and I want to know what I did wrong. I followed your steps, and it is crap. What do I do? And you're like, all right, let's work through it. And then
Throw some-
you get out, and then the
throw
boss
some
is like,
apricot
what
nectar
were
in
you
there."
talking about? Like,
But I really wanted to just make a single bottle of beer.
just a single bottle. See, I don't know.
It'd be fun.
I never had that urge just to do such small volume.
Whenever
Like,
someone-
if I'm
It's
doing
more,
it, I'm
it's
gonna
more just
do
to
it.
be clever at
Yeah,
work.
yeah. It's hey man, be clever.
Whenever someone
that's what homebrew's about. Though.
ask
Be
me
clever,
when they're
be-
brand
yeah.
new, hey, is there a book you recommend? I recommend the 1 gallon book. And I used to buy when they're available, I would have 10. And I'd be like, I got a book for you. Hold on. Here you go. It's 1 gallon. You will learn the basics. You will understand how the process works, but you're only getting 1 gallon. It's easy to warm up. It's easy to cool down. You can just put it in the sink with some water. It's a good start.
Listen,
When I always recommend brewing outside too. I got 2 cats, 2 dogs, and that pet dander. That beer don't have a chance with those.
Right?
lemon
I-
beers.
When I get back into it, I'm going to go back to 10-gallon batches. But
Yeah.
I do
Oh
see.
my
there-
God.
there-
yeah, 4
no,
cases. What's wrong with you?
no, because
Where do you keep it?
I see.
I have a
2
lot more-
fridges
I have
in
a-
direct view.
I have a
And
lot
I know
more.
you got more back there. So.
Yeah. So I'm just saying but I would also not do what I did when I was getting into the homebrew, is have like 6 taps on all the time.
No,
I would
yeah,
just
that's
be
too
more.
much.
It should be more
for me, it's too
focused.
much.
But there was a whole
Have 2.
there was a whole Brooklyn.
What's wrong with 2?
There was a whole Brooklyn beer project with a small, urban homebrewing, and
It's
there was a
been there
whole
for
1
a
gallon
long
thing.
time. Yeah.
That's
I
the
don't
one I
know.
always recommended. Yeah.
Yeah, Brooklyn
yeah.
beer wasn't bad. At least I felt like those instructions were the best.
Yeah.
Like written by people who actually understood.
Well, that's what
and
we
what to
used
look out for.
When I
And
taught at Whole Foods, they
But-
sold those kits.
the Pinters, I don't know. I got to see.
I don't know what
those.
Pinter is. Tell me what Pinter is.
Yeah, I've seen them. That little
'Cause
barrel,
I-
blue barrel or something on
before you-
social. That's
Blue,
all
red,
I-
or green.
Oh,
or black. Yeah.
Before you
Choices.
told me
Such
the-
important
the
choices
name,
too.
It popped in my head, and then you started talking about Pinter. I have no idea what Pinter is. Tell me
It's
what
like
Pinter
the 1
is.
gallon. It's right.
It's 1 gallon.
It's 10 pints.
Okay.
So
12 ounce or
2
16s.
16. So
So is it a process? Is it a piece of equipment? Is
It's
it
a gallon.
it's-
160. What is it? 64.
it's a gallon.
Yeah, it's 128.
it is a piece of equipment. It has a spunding valve. It's an all-in-one brew and serve container. But of course, they're just sending you a liquid mash.
LME.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
sending you LME.
It's LME
That's
for sure.
pre-hopped, and then
Liquid
you pour
malt
it,
extract.
and then you stir it with water. You put in your yeast. They have a little system where you can add like hop extract through a thing. It's
Being
got
clever.
a
They're
spunding
being
valve.
clever.
It's got you after you're done brewing, you put on a handle, and it's a little serving thing. You just put it in your fridge.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. Yeah,
was fine
I
with me.
I don't know.
I almost bought one of those.
But
all
What
it's
in
kind of
one.
yeast are we getting
subscription.
with this? I guess is the real question.
when we got-
It's a subscription program. So you
Yeah.
sign up.
See, this is where it.
And
this is all
each
fall apart.
batch is between $27 and $35 for a gallon.
That seems up there.
It's very,
That's way
very,
up there.
very expensive.
You would have gotten like an IPA at my shop, and it is more. It would have been more than your Northern Brewers, but it still would have been probably with taxes, right around that 70. And this is an IPA too
for a 5 gallon.
For a 5 gallon, and so you got to get all your hops. Your malts, if you're doing extract, you gotta buy your extract. But I'll just go high and say it'll be like $80. And you would have gotten a 5 gallon recipe, minus your water and your equipment, but just for that. But you would have gotten 5 gallons out of that. And it was fresh, because I ordered all the yeast individually. Or, as it ran out, I would order. It's not sitting there. It's sitting on someone else's shelf.
Come a little tiny packet of yeast.
Yeah. That's just disgusting.
This is what some of the problems with the homebrewing was. It's not one group of people that are all singular minded. There were people when people started to get into the cost. I think it changes the whole equation. Or when they discount the cost, if you don't enjoy the process of brewing,
right.
And you just like, oh, I saved all this money, but if you look at that as a chore and you're just trying to save money, you're not really saving money.
You're not, no.
Because, and then people didn't understand, like, well, it's my time, it's free. Like, but your opportunity costs, you could be spending time with your family,
right.
You could be doing other things, you could be
hiking.
Right.
We all, I think, play that game.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's face it, we all play like, this costs $2.17 a pint. Like,
yeah.
Go find one, go find somebody you can do. But if you're just doing that, like you said, you're not really.
If you don't enjoy it, then
you're just.
But
drinking,
there were people who were definitely
drinking.
in there. Hey, I came to find out how I can make inexpensive beer. I'm like, all right, well, you can do
and
it.
That's how it starts. Great, and hopefully it'll evolve those.
Right.
But
then there
like
were
for
the
me,
people.
it evolved.
There were the people who just wanted to make all the equipment and like hardly brewed, but they were engineers and they just wanted to.
Yeah, those engineers, man, they're.
Are you talking about
They
Tom?
are smart. They are smart.
They just went like, hey, I drained my my boil kettle and I got it down to this temperature and this time and and it was like, I would go like, well, if you really want to be efficient, there should be 1 cube of ice left in your cooling off thing. Because if there's a ton of ice in there, you spend a lot of money on
Yeah,
ice.
yeah.
You wasted it all.
Like you're talking about efficiency, all that ice should be melted, and you hit your target temperature in the target time.
McDonald's.
I dropped
two bags
my
for
yeast
$2.
at 110 Fahrenheit. Is
Right,
that not
right,
going to
right.
hurt? You're telling me that's no good?
Yeah.
Still too warm? Nah, I think it's gonna be fine.
okay.
Yeah, if it's
Why
bubbling,
did it come out to 1%? I don't understand.
you got some alien microflora working in that beer. Hey, we've got enough for an episode. I enjoy our time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Doubtlessly, and love to have you back when you get to your next step. Because obviously you love to talk.
I'm a talker. I can talk.
And a good luck on that thing that's going to happen hopefully very shortly. We don't
Hopefully
jinx it.
very soon. Yes, sir. Hopefully back in production. And yeah.
All right. Thank you, Drew, for coming out.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, it's been a blast for sure.
Wish we could have got you in here earlier, but we're not good planners on this.
We're just
brewers.
Sometimes
Sometimes
we
we
brewers. We don't. Yeah.
Sometimes
we
we just
plan
come here and-
recipes, but
sometimes
this kind of stuff, you just
Sometimes we just come here and
come on in.
shoot the shit.
Yeah.
But it's good to get you in, and we'll see each other soon.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me again. Whenever you want me back, I'll be back.
Right on. Cheers, man. Oh,
Cheers, everybody.
This is not a beer podcast. This is a podcast about beer.
All right. Sounds good. Is there a difference?
Sometimes the beer finds you.
Well, it found me today. Fate found me
All right.
today.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.